Actually, it's more like 60 or 70 years now, and nothing has changed. So a while back, a few years back on my show, I started complaining about it. And then in the last maybe year, I've started saying, okay, it's time to stop complaining about it and see what can be done about it and what different things are floating around out there. So I don't think it should be thrown out wholesale, because you can't. It's just, it's like saying, let's throw out the music industry, or let's throw out the media or something. You can't do that. But you can take elements of it and on an individual or small group basis, start to do different things with it and become unhooked from the mainstream of UFO study, I think. And that's what I've been saying for a while now, actually, is forget the large groups. I used to say get rid of them, but that's not going to happen, like I just said. But forget the large groups, form small groups, crowdsource yourself, anything you can to not do what the large UFO groups have been doing. And start with a different premise. Start with a premise. Let's say there's no aliens coming from other planets, and absolutely stick to that as a religion for a while and see what happens. Or start with any premise and just stick to that one for a while and see what happens. And the other important part of that, I think, is to do it, like I said, in small groups and in secret. And I'm not saying to keep the ideas from other people or to be exclusive or cliquish or anything like that. The idea is to let a small group explore its ideas in a pure way. No media, no television, no books being written, no publicity, right. No attempt for anybody to do anything public. Because as soon as ego enters into it, you get all the stuff that's been polluting, not the signal, but the pure research, I guess you want to call it. I hate to use these terms because they sound so lofty. Pure research. No, but do it, small groups in secret, working very carefully on something until a result is produced or no result is produced.
And until there's something reportable, reportable, worth reporting.
Yeah, and if there's nothing worth reporting, then forget it. Move on to something else. But people have problems with this because they think it's wasting their time, which is dumb, because even when you don't come up with anything, you learn a lot. So anyway, I will stop the rant now.
What did we learn from this recent brouhaha in the Mexico City event? Because it seems to me when you look at it in retrospect, you can't imagine any thinking person being taken in by that.
Right. That's the first thing I guess we learned, is for people to think before they leap into either putting on something or participating, as a viewer or as an audience member, because clearly, was due diligence not done, or, like some people say, was it done and then just kind of set aside, disregarded, or obfuscated because so much had been committed to in a particular direction? Was somebody embarrassed to then come out and say, you know what, it's not what we thought it was? But the tough thing with that situation is you do have to wonder, people brought up the issue of, was somebody committing fraud in this case, duping people? And you know what, that's a legitimate question because of all the circumstances we know about it now. It's difficult to believe that nobody in that group knew, what that was or had not. And maybe it goes back to the guy who was the original source of the slide. I don't know, but
one crazy theory, and it goes back to the reports that some people had their email accounts hacked. Some of the people participating, is that supposedly certain intelligence groups or people were involved in creating that as a hoax to create more noise.
Right.
And that goes to the larger question here. Is there any possibility here that one of the problems in UFO research is that we have this intelligence or disinformation element that keeps polluting the waters, and that's why things just don't work?
I think it's really easy to blame intelligence agencies for things that people screw up themselves.
I do want to throw one thing in. It's a good question, Gene, and
you're the intelligence guy here, so.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, and this is all I'm going to say about this. I would recommend anyone who wants to look closer at that situation regarding certain agencies to take a closer look at any of the certain players that were involved, say, in being the you know how they said they had the slides reviewed by Pentagon analysts, visual analysts.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say take a look at any individuals named and take a closer look at them, and I'll leave it at that. We'll go on to the next question.
You just raised about 46 questions there.
Yes,
man.
I did. Yes, I did. What I'm saying is take a closer look at a particular individual who.
Well,
I'm not at liberty to discuss that further, but it was a name that popped up that I personally recognized.
Yeah, I think Walter
reasons.
talked to me about that a little.
So we'll leave it there. But I did want to throw that out there because it is there, and the possibility of, that scenario you just mentioned about, is it obfuscation or is it disinfo? Is it games being played? It might be interesting.
Yeah, well, it sounds more like what Walter's suggesting, I think, to me, sounds like more like a let it happen without getting in the way. It's like, well, if this is the way they're going, then let's just leave it alone and see where it goes by telling them we don't know anything.
We have much more to do, much more to talk about. With Walter Bosley, Greg Bishop, with Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Talk to a sales rep at iWeb.com. Use the promo code TechNightOwl for a special discount.
First game Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there is The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to ParanormalDate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you like.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Why do over 50% of North Americans suffer from some form of chronic ailment? Could it be due to a toxic overload? It's time to take back your life. Get the lead out as well as the cadmium, mercury, and calcium. Extendovite is a garlic cayenne supplement with 5 other herbs that acts like a natural Drano, cleaning out the stored toxins, restoring your energy and youthfulness that we've lost. If you would like to live your life free of sickness, pain, or fear, then Extendovite is for you. Available in either capsules or liquid, you too can see why Extendovite is the #1 heart drop available. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey Guy. so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey Guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products, most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey Guy at GoBerkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com, home of the Berkey Guy.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
As you see, this is going to be an action-packed episode, folks. We have Greg Bishop. We have Walter Bosley together in one virtual room. And I expect, of course, they agree on lots of issues. But another subject we've talked about in recent years, and I guess it's somewhat related, is how many things that happened in UFO field have been put-up jobs. And an example, of course, is James Carrion's book, The Rosetta Deception, where it's all about the ghost rockets being there to spook the Russians. And maybe there's some of that in Roswell, which we're beginning to call the case that shall not be named. So who wants to take that one?
Well, I'm unfortunately not as familiar with some of the recent research and literature like I've heard of Carrion's book, but I haven't read it. So there might be some research and investigations and theories put out there that I'm not familiar enough to speak about. But in a general sense, yeah, I would agree with theories that Roswell, like other things, has been played with so much. And kind of like what Greg says, let's let them think what they want. I've said that kind of a brand of that in a version of that in the past. Hey, if they want to think it's ET, let them think it's ET. It works for us.
But then how do you find out what's behind it if you just allow the opinions to flourish, fester, or whatever?
Well, when I say that, it's coming from an assumption, the theory that they already know what it is, and generally they're just using public opinion or public mythology to kind of let it be a cover or a sleight of hand so that, people don't really take a closer look at what it really might be. But if jumping on that other path where, that they don't know what it is either, I would say that, they're always looking into stuff secretly. Again, it goes back to, hey, let people think what they want to think. But certainly in some cases, I think there's probably been stuff injected into the scenario, intentionally.
Well, in the old days of the Paracast forums, I don't think we do it now. But Chris O'Brien's predecessor and I would occasionally just think to ourselves, who is the intelligence operative who's a member and participant in the Paracast forums?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know both of you, and more so with Walter, have participated in the forums, but we've never made that assumption with either of you. But that kind of is humorous. It wasn't meant to be serious, but it does go to the paranoia that inflicts this entire field.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that people that are paranoid, they're doing too much thinking, and they're paying attention to the wrong things. If you trust your internal compass enough, you should be able to navigate this stuff without being worried that somebody's leading you astray. Or, the weirder and more unsubstantiated something sounds, the less attention you should probably pay to it. And looking for the answer, this is like the disclosure thing. You look for the answer from the people you completely distrust. That's a very big cognitive dissonance for me.
Right. We go out there and say anytime the government tells us something, we don't believe it. Oh, they've got this new deal with Iran. It's obviously some trick by the president of the United States to betray our country, whatever, come out with a lot of nonsense. One way or the other, you come to your own conclusions. But the point is here is that the image is being presented here that the government is incompetent. You can't trust them. Nothing they say is accurate. It's all spin, whether it's just figures about unemployment or about inflation. None of it equates to the real world. These are the enemies, except we still continue to vote in the people who represent us locally. Regardless of that, now we want disclosure in the UFO field. We want President Obama or the government leader in whatever country you name to come up and say on worldwide TV, we know the truth. We've been hiding it from you for whatever reason, but we're being visited by ET. Who'd believe them anyway?
I don't know if anybody would believe them. Well, people that already believe that's going on would believe them immediately because it confirms their biases and their prejudices and all that. The funny thing is here is that there's a disconnect here. If people, if the government's telling you about normal things like unemployment and all that, well, whatever. I mean, you can check that out for yourself. But if they're telling you about something paranormal about UFOs, how the hell are you going to go check that out for yourself? There isn't really any way to do it. And I keep going back to the John Keel quote that the UFO researchers aren't telling the U.S. government what they know about UFOs.
Well, actually, Greg, I think the answer to that question is how you going to know goes back to what you were saying before, which I've also been an advocate of, and that's go private. Don't talk about what you're finding, what you're doing. Go out there and do the research, the investigation privately, and you may be surprised what emerges from the woodwork. Because I think the phenomenon itself, there's an intelligence involved, and quite frankly, it knows when you're trying to, be a media star, and it's a trickster. It's going to play that game with you where if you're out there saying, hey, I'm the guy who knows, look at my book, look at my show, look at this, it's going to disappear on you real quick.
I think it's coming from the person. I don't think it's coming from the phenomenon. If your ego gets in the way, it messes everything up. It messes everything up in remote viewing or anything where you're trying to get some kind of pure signal and your ego says, well, this is the thing. And then suddenly that signal has gone through about 100 more filters by the time it gets to your consciousness and out your mouth and all that.
But it's both. I mean, the phenomenon is not a product, can't be entirely a product of, the individual's psyche. There's just been too many things that have occurred that there's multiple witnesses of.
Oh, I wasn't saying that. I'm sure that it varies. Okay. There's a sliding scale. I mean, sometimes there's more signal, whatever that might be, and I think a lot of the time it's noise, or not noise, but stuff that's coming from our own minds. I think that's a very important part of all this. That people have ignored.
Of course it is. And call it what you want, but essentially what I'm saying, for whatever the reason, the point is you go public for whatever reason. Suddenly you're not going to get as many results. You're not going to find as much. It's going to withdraw. For whatever the reason, it's going to withdraw. Whereas if you stay private, for a certain point, it's going to interact. It's going to emerge more. And I understand a lot of people have a problem with that because they, there's a view that everything should be shared at all times. Well, I disagree with that. And Greg's already covered that.
I used to agree with it. Now I don't with regards to the UFO study. So.
Well, there's also, let me chime in here real quick, guys, and, welcome to the show. It's great to have you guys here. I really have a sense that you guys are really, you're zeroing in on, I think, as Greg, both of you have rightfully pointed out, is a very kind of a hidden but very crucial element. And that is, it's almost like the observer effect. Or some sort of cultural uncertainty principle. The more you open your mouth, the less accurate things tend to become, and it's hard to like in quantum physics, if you're trying to find the mass of something, a particle, or you're trying to find the velocity, the more you zero in on one of those, the less defined the other element becomes. So
that sounds like the UFO field in general, folks.
Exactly.
Let's get to more of this in a moment with Walter Bosley, Greg Bishop, Gene Steinberg, Chris O'Brien. You're in Paracast.
A little right, a little left, but always independent-minded. The Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
More and more people are discovering the incredible benefits of alkalizing the body, and there's no better product for it than AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops. Packed with a powerful combination of the most alkaline minerals and compounds, just a few drops in water will rid your body of harmful waste and give you more vibrance and vigor than you've had in years. Now buy 2 bottles and get $10 off your order. Call 800-518-7615 or visit alkavision.com. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com.
Identity theft is real. So real, it could be making you its next victim right now. At the gas pump, bank, or store where you shop with your credit card, bad guys with RFID scanners can peer into your wallet or purse from a short distance away, stealing information from your RFID-enabled credit or debit cards, passports, room keys, and ID cards without you even knowing it. Stop the bad guys now with an RFID blocking wallet from ID Stronghold. ID Stronghold founded the entire RFID blocking industry over 10 years ago. Their stylish sleeves, clutch purses, and wallets are shielded throughout. The best you can buy at great pricing, as low as $14.99. Don't wait until your wallet needs replacing. Protect your identity now. Click idstronghold.com or call 1-800-610-2770. That's 1-800-610-2770. ID Stronghold, the original RFID wallet company.
Hi, this is Steve Spillum for Midas Resources. In 1971, President Nixon took the United States off the gold standard and put us into a fiat currency. This allowed Congress and the Federal Reserve to create trillions of dollars out of thin air. The national debt has risen to incredible heights, and your hard-earned dollars buy a small fraction of what they once did. The average life expectancy for a fiat currency is 27 years. The dollar is failing and on borrowed time. When currencies fall, people turn to gold and silver because gold and silver have been real money for more than 5,000 years. It is our mission at Midas Resources to help you preserve your capital. Don't let your personal savings shrink to nothing. For important free information on how you can protect your personal wealth, contact me, Steve Spillum, at 1-800-686-2237, extension 308. Call today while we are still accepting dollars for gold and silver. 1-800-686-2237, extension 308. Make a change in your financial security today. That's 1-800-686-2237, extension 308.
It's very easy to be a criminal. All you need to burglarize a home is one simple household tool, a pair of scissors. If your home security system can be compromised by a criminal using scissors, then you're making it easy for them. Almost every home security system, even those sold by big-name companies, has a weakness: the phone line. You shell out $1,500, get locked into a long-term contract, and think you're safe. But a burglar can destroy your alarm in seconds with one snip. And when a burglar cuts your phone line, you're defenseless. Simply Safe Home Security is the smarter choice. Built by Harvard engineers, Simply Safe uses a wireless connection to call the cops. Scissors can't cut it, and that means your home stays safe. 24/7 professional monitoring is under $15 a month with no contract. Simply Safe Home Security keeps you safer than the other guys for half the cost. Protect your home with the alarm you can trust. Simply Safe. Go to simplysafedefense.com now for an exclusive 10% offer. That's simplysafedefense.com.
This is Jacques Vallée. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Okay, the show is now going downhill from here as if it was ever going uphill. That was Greg Bishop, by the way, with that weird voice that came from we have no idea.
Well,
that lurked within his soul.
That's what channeled. Sorry, that's what channeled right up through me.
What, Channel 7, Channel 11, what?
No, the channeled strange voice. That
was the voice of his avatar on Skype.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, the Pascagoula head.
Greg has the Pascagoula monster as his spike. I guess his name was Spike, right? He's got 3 spikes for 2 spikes for ears and a spike for a nose, no eyes, and a little slit mouth.
Yes, that's one of my favorite characters ever from ufology. In addition to the Kelly Hopkinsville goblins, love them too.
Since we raised it, we're talking about intelligence and mind control. Let's just hone in on that. Pascagoula, not a gray, something out of your worst nightmare. What's behind this? Is this the descendant of MK Ultra getting involved with mind control and generating UFO abductions? Greg, since you have the avatar, explain. It's your fault, man.
For a majority, probably most of UFO, CE3s, occupant reports and all that, I don't know if there are any intelligence connections to them. I'm sure they would use them if they knew about them, use the imagery. But the thing is that, I think this goes back to what I said about interpretation and mixed with whatever is causing that. No, I don't think there's not an external, element to this. There's definitely an external element. There's definitely some kind of intelligence or awareness or consciousness behind what we call the UFO thing. But I think that there is an infinite number of ways that before it hits our consciousness, how we interpret it. And the fact that both Calvin Parker and Charles Hickson saw the same thing and apparently experienced the same thing, I don't know if that really says that that's really what happened. I mean, if we were standing there in the room or standing there off to the side, I don't know if we would have seen the same thing or even experienced any of that. Maybe they were sitting on the shore quivering by, when they said all this was going on. Who knows? But something happened to them and that imagery came up. The other thing about it is it's so strange and so off the path from other, nobody else ever reported an entity that looked like that, I don't think. So that I think that speaks to the variety of interpretation that people would have or the variety of ways that somebody's mind might filter that experience. And I'm getting a little bombastic here, and it sounds like I'm saying it's all in their heads. It's like no, it's not all in somebody's heads. What I'm saying is it's probably mostly in your head.
Well, it's almost like the details of the experience are filled in by the witnesses.
Yeah, exactly. And then they probably talk about it, afterwards, maybe even subconsciously back and forth. Who knows? And the story that emerges becomes what happened. Not what happened. What happened? Who knows? But their recollection of it and how they tell the story of what happened to them. That becomes the experience. Who knows what the experience was? Maybe intelligence, people have known this for, many, 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 many years, and they use that. Walter might be able to speak to that.
Well, we should note that, with Pascagoula you've got what? 2 naval air stations and a couple of Air Force bases in Florida. So, you've got very much a strong military presence and the particular 2 branches that are involved in advanced technology. So, you have to consider, okay, what was going on there DOD wise. But, Greg brings up a good point about there's what the witnesses state, and then there's what really happened. Now, back then we didn't have, video cameras and iPhones and things. I think today we've got the interesting element that on the one hand, if Pascagoula were to happen today, one of these 2 guys or both of them would have captured the visual on an iPhone. Likely, and we would have had a documented record of what the camera saw. And sometimes that can be different from what the eye sees. I've personally experienced that.
Well, yes, but in this case here, I wonder if you had a camera there, would you see anything on it other than 2 people staring at nothing?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the question.
The other question is, with all this technology now that's, just permeating the culture, why aren't we seeing more quality images and clips? I mean, this is something that some of our healthy skeptics on the forums have been pointing out now for several years with the advent of all these cell phones, 16, even 32-bit megapixels. We should have some really good visual evidence by now, and it doesn't seem like we're seeing that. Why do you think this is?
I think that there may be there may be something that the object does or can do to camouflage its electronic signature visually. There just may very well be something like that, to where the people are looking at this thing as it actually is, and they're capturing it on video. But then when they go to the video, there's detail missing. It just didn't seem to capture what the eye saw, and I think there's possibly an element there.
Well, the other possibility is that what we're seeing is not what is being captured by a camera, because what we're seeing is not the physical optical representation of what it is. So the camera will capture one thing, and our experience, our vision, our
exactly.
consciousness all combine to create something that is not the same as what a camera
Yeah,
would see.
that's very good. That's the flip side of what I said. I said, there's something that it's camouflaging itself so the camera doesn't capture it. But yeah, what you're saying, I agree with that. It could be that the camera captures what's really there, and the camouflage is what's being sent to our perception, to our eyes, right?
Well, I don't recall
I think we're both capturing the same thing by our consciousness and the camera. I think they're both quote unquote real. They're just different ways of looking at it.
Yeah, but I haven't heard of a single case where someone has claimed that they've filmed something that they've seen and experienced, and yet the image doesn't come out on the camera. I can't, maybe a handful of stories where people said, well, I took a picture of it and nothing came out. But you would think that if that was the case, and then we'd have many more claims of experiences that aren't backed up with the visual evidence.
But the problem there is, the minute somebody comes out and says, hey, man, I and this other guy are standing there at 11:30 one night in November looking at this thing very distinctly. It was amazing. And I got video of it, but it does not look like what we saw. Guess what's going to be said? All the rabid skeptics are going to come out and say, oh, you're a liar. Oh, you're going to be so attacked, and you're going to be there's going to be 27 people. And so that's why you're not hearing about that. That's why if I were to have encountered something like that personally, I would not talk about it publicly.
Why answer skeptics in the first place? It's just I think that's a losing battle.
No, the problem is, it's not that you're answering skeptics. It's that you're out there in the forums like this one sharing this, and they just come out at you. It's not that you even want to deal with them. You can't help it. They're there. You're in the water, and there's the sharks.
Well, there's one more thing. Did you ever notice that when the closer something is to the camera, the less anybody gets a picture of it? The further it is away, the better the pictures are. What is the reason for that? A skeptical person says because they're hoaxes, and that's the way they can hide things. I don't know about that.
Electronic camouflage. I think there's something about some of these objects where it's either by design or by default, because of the technology, that it's messing with the camera, the workings of the camera.
Well, I can attest to that. I mean, I thought we had up in Jerome, people call it one of the most haunted towns in America, here in Arizona. Yeah. And I was walking down a hallway, and at the end of the hallway was a brand new 3D camera.
Let's continue that discussion in our next segment with Gene and Chris and Greg Bishop and Walter Bosley. You're in
the Paracast. Independently leading the way for the nation. Compelling talk for every political persuasion. We are GCN.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
As if chlorine in our water weren't bad enough, now they're adding ammonia?
It's true. Some municipalities are now adding ammonia plus chlorine to your water supply. It's a disinfectant called chloramine. But with a trusted Big Berkey water filter, you can keep chloramine out of your water. New NSF EPA certified lab tests show EPA Berkey water filters remove chloramines, pharmaceuticals, BPA, pesticides, bacteria and viruses, all forms of fluoride, and much more. Big Berkey water filters are the original and most trusted on the market. The gold standard in water purification. And our filters last for years at less than 2 cents per gallon. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get your Big Berkey today. Call 1-877-99-BERKEY or click BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
Hi, this is Dr. Joel Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy. Have you ever wondered why farmers can keep their livestock lean and healthy just by feeding them minerals in a nutrient-dense diet? Before market, they cut off their minerals, leaving them to crave high-calorie grains to fatten them up. So if weight control is this easy, why does the medical system prescribe invasive surgical gastric bypass for humans? The truth be told, according to research, you can avoid over 900 different diseases just by getting 90 essential nutrients daily. Check us out on the web at sonsoflibertyteam.com. And order your Healthy Start Pack and get your 90 for life. Or dial 855-301-TEAM. I said essential, not optional, and every day. Easy. 90 for life on the web at sonsoflibertyteam.com. Or call 855-301-TEAM. That's 855-301-TEAM. That's 855-301-TEAM. Check us out on the web at sonsoflibertyteam.com. At sonsoflibertyteam.com.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to ParanormalDate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you like.
Hello, this is Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Oh, he's good, like a straight announcer, Walter Bosley. How about that? And Greg Bishop with Gene and Chris.
Well, I have a perfect example of camera oddities in terms of the actual mechanism of recording. I mean, I'm walking down a hallway. There's a big mirror right behind the camera. The camera's at the end of the hallway pointed at me as I'm walking toward it. I see in the mirror behind the camera a shadow person, a silhouette of somebody leaning out like they were looking out the door at whoever just had walked by, and it was about 8 feet behind me. I realized that I couldn't see any features, that I should have been able to see detail. It looked like about a 6-foot male silhouette. But I should have, because of the lighting in the hallway, I should have been able to see facial details, clothing details, and I realized almost instantly that it was some sort of shadow person or a ghost, for lack of a better definition. I immediately turned around and took the 2 steps behind me to look and see if there was a doorway there, and there wasn't. It was definitely something high strange. I saw it clearly. The camera was recording. I instantly ran around the corner into the room where the director was. I said, we just got the world's first footage, 3D footage of a ghost. You come out here and turn the camera off. He went out there. hit stop, and instead of the message that says, would you like to save this clip or initialize this clip, that message never came up. We never could initialize that particular clip. He wouldn't use the camera for several weeks trying to get in there and retrieve that particular 7-minute clip. Part of the interview that he'd done just before setting the camera up in the hallway was also on that clip. And I thought for sure that we had just landed the mother lode, the first 3D footage of a ghost. And I was beside myself. I was so excited about that. And then to have the camera not offer the option to initialize and save the clip, it was just very, very frustrating. And that absolutely is an illustration of what Walter was talking about, that there, and Greg, I think would agree with us, that there's some sort of weird element that's at work here. It's almost like whatever it is, if it doesn't want to be documented, photographed, filmed, videotaped, something will happen to make that so. I don't know how many times. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, I was out. All my batteries had been drained. A helicopter had flown over us. We had some sighting with unusual lights at the Bradshaw Ranch. The batteries in my phone, the battery in my camera, and the 2 batteries for my night vision binoculars, which I had charged them all, they were all dead. Now, the other people that were with me, their batteries were fine. So it's bizarre the way sometimes these things play out. There seems to be an interaction with technology. There seems to be some sort of control exerted at crucial moments. Yep. And it's very frustrating. I'm telling you, I was really bummed that a $22,000 camera, it's never had any problems since. It didn't have any problems the one shoot that we used it before, this particular shoot. It's really frustrating.
What do you think causes that? Any idea?
I don't. It's almost a temporal effect. It's almost like time. During these experiences, time either contracts or dilates, and it's almost like you're almost beside the reality of the experience. Is almost like removed from the standard reality and put next to it or something. It's hard for me to describe it. Factor. But I think that there's almost a parallel moment that happens. I've noticed this during sighting events that the air seems different. You don't hear crickets, for instance. I've had sightings at night with lots of crickets, even cicadas, and then during the sighting event, you never notice that they go away, but then all of a sudden you realize it's silent. And it's almost like you're not in the same place at that moment, that you're standing next to yourself or something. I don't know how to describe it.
And the thing about the batteries being drained, that sounds like the batteries were suddenly sent through 20 hours of doing nothing or being used or something, and they took a little time trip and they just became drained that way. I don't know.
Well, we had a helicopter fly fairly low over us as well. So it may have been something there. But you would think that the other people's batteries would be drained as well if that was the case. If it was some sort of, I think it was just a coincidence that a military-style helicopter happened to fly over us about 500 feet. Who knows? It's not the first time. I mean, we flew over the Bradshaw Ranch in a helicopter with the History Channel for the show UFO Hunters, and both cameramen's onboard batteries on their cameras and the spare batteries they had were all drained. And this was within, I don't know, probably 2 or 3, maybe 300 yards, 400 yards from where my event happened with the batteries being drained. I was in the same, basically the same location.
There's a place we can go back with some batteries, get a bunch of skeptical people with batteries, and you and some other people, and see whose batteries get drained.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first time I've been there many times. That's the first time that's happened to me. So, it would be, like playing the lottery, I guess. It's almost like there's something I hate to overuse the T word, but there is a tricksterish element at work and play in many of these events. And I think that there's an element that has some sort of, ability or recourse to impact or affect technology. And that it's almost at a whim. Sometimes you get lucky, you get footage. I have great footage that I've gotten over the years, good photographs. But then there are other times when you are convinced, like the Jerome event that I described. There sometimes when you really are convinced that it's almost like my excitement almost could have been somehow involved in screwing up the camera, because I mean, it was at 10:30 at night when I went around the corner. I was leaping in the air, fist pumping without saying a word because I didn't want to wake up of the guests in the hotel. This happened at the Connor Hotel, and who knows? Maybe it's some sort of psychic feedback loop that the experiencer has that somehow impacts. Maybe it's the excitement of the event that inadvertently has some sort of adverse effect on technology or mechanistic processes. I don't know.
I'm just laughing because I just had an idea and people are going to be really mad about it. So I'm going to say it. The fact that if something did show up on a camera somewhere to prove something would mean you would have not as much of a mystery anymore. So maybe it self-negates that way, just to keep the mystery there in some way.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that the source of whatever the phenomenon,
or maybe you do.
The source, it wants to be observed only on its own terms. That's why sometimes, rarely, it will allow itself to be captured in that way. But for the most part, it just wants to show itself to you at that particular given moment. And because it, as Greg says, it's still maybe it's the gatekeeper of mystery. Maybe it wants to keep a little bit of mystery in this reality, this plane, this world.
Oh,
and
no,
that's why it does that. No, I know.
The person and not the phenomenon wants to keep the mystery. Maybe it's an agreement with the person as well, because the person maybe deep down doesn't want the mystery to go away. That's what I was trying to say. It's an idea. I'm not saying that's what I think it is.
Hey, anything's possible with this stuff. You gotta have to consider all options. But I do. I think that it goes back to conversations Greg and I had a few years ago when I was experiencing stuff constantly. When I was researching the Empire of the Wheel books, and I'd tell Greg excitedly the latest episode of High Strangeness. And he would look at me as he does, and very calmly, and he would say, well, he would comment that it sounded like it was a very personal experience. And at first, and I've told Greg this, we've talked about this, at first I thought that was a polite way of saying, oh, it's all in your head, you're not experiencing it. And then I realized what he was saying, I realized, oh, wait a minute, it is personal. It's something that is revealing itself to me. Not because I'm special, but because I just happen to be out there looking. I've always argued that anything I've experienced in the course of my investigations in the last 7 or 8 years is something that anybody could experience if they looked closely enough or hard enough. And so I realized, oh, wow, okay, so there is this personal nature of this, and that led even more so to my philosophy that keep it to yourself and you're going to see more. You're going to get closer. You're going to experience more. Be willing to not want to, be the guy or, to be a star or, be willing to or try to resist writing about all of it or talking about all of it. I mean, there's no way in hell I'm going to talk about it publicly.
In our next segment, Walter, I want to ask you about one experience you can talk about. Give us an example. What's been going on with you. But first, we've got Gene and Chris, Greg and Walter. You're in
the Paracast. Independently leading the way for the nation. Compelling talk for every political persuasion. We are GCN.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats, I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKEsoft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKEsoft.com.
Did you know that drinking pure, high alkaline water is one of the most important factors in maintaining high energy and vibrant health? Most experts agree that the water you drink should be at a pH level of 8 or higher. AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops, available only at alkavision.com, combine a unique formula of only the most alkaline minerals. AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops alkalize your water, ridding the body of harmful toxins, and helps you regain health and energy. Alkalizing your water by simply adding 10 drops of AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops helps the body rid itself of acidic waste, increases oxygen content, and raises the pH of your body to healthy levels. And bacteria and viruses cannot survive in an alkaline high pH environment. Order your bottle of AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops for only $29.95 at alkavision.com. That's ALKAvision.com. Or call 269-409-1776. 269-409-1776. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com today.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
That will go unedited, folks. On the Paracast, people wonder, do we edit the show a little bit of a shave and haircut? That's about it. By the way, we've got a second radio show for you to listen to. It's called After the Paracast. Once again, it's After the Paracast. It can be interviews. It could be post-game chatter, color commentary. We don't know, but you'll find out every week. You have to be a member of the Paracast Plus to get After the Paracast. We also offer a free copy of Chris O'Brien's Stalking the Tricksters, the ebook version. He's not going to do that forever, folks. So sign up now for 1 year or 5 years at plus.theparacast.com. Go to plus.theparacast.com to learn more. Walter Bosley and Greg Bishop are with us this week, and I asked Walter to tell us maybe one or two of his high strangeness experiences. We can get a sense of what's going on.
Well,
we have someone ready to shut you down. We've got the 7-second delay. So if you say anything that violates your intelligence directive, it will be shut down. Don't believe that.
Gotcha.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Yeah. There's one that I talk about in the books when I was initially investigating the first Empire of the Wheel book, doing that research. This was before I even heard of the woman I talk about in the book, Cora Stanton, who I'm now convinced was at a place. This was early on. I had already stumbled upon the presence of Hecate in her St. Catherine form. And I'm not going to go into the long background as to why I did this. There's a whole history leading up to why one day I was investigating a particular site over here in Riverside, California, on behalf of the author Sesh Hari, who does some of my telluric current ley line geomorphology. He'll identify places. And I was checking out a site that he had asked me to look at. And I was in the Rose Garden, just sitting there on a bench. And, I said, okay, St. Catherine, show me something. Well, I sat there kind of chuckling to myself and was like, okay, who the hell knows if she's even listening. And on the drive home, this is where the experience started. On the drive home, instead of just taking straight to the freeway, getting on the 91 to come home, I decided as I got to the intersection of Victoria to, I'll turn right and I'll take the scenic route. And then I'm driving down a few blocks and I look to my right and there's this hill. Suddenly the urge pops into my head, I think I'll go take a look at that hill, this little residential area. And I drove over there and I found this quarry, the old quarry that I talk about in the books. And it was the first day I ever went there. So I got out of the car and I looked at this thing. It dates back to the 1880s, I think. And it's very Lovecraftian, and it's Greg has been there. It's very, very eerie and Lovecraftian in its feel. I stayed there for about 10, 15 minutes looking around at the thing. In fact, I did take some pictures of it. And then I got in the car and I proceeded to go home. Well, between there and home is only about a 15-minute drive. And in that drive, I felt all the energy from my body just draining. And I thought, oh, wow, I'm coming down with a cold or something, right? But I just felt completely drained. And I got home and I was just exhausted for no really apparent reason. By 10 or 11 that evening, my exhaustion had developed into just body aches, and very specifically, my neck and shoulder kind of froze up in intense pain. And I was suffering. I had no range motion. I couldn't, just turn my head normally. I had to turn my whole body if I wanted to, look to the right. And I suffered this for about 2 or 3 days, and then suddenly I got the urge to go take a walk up Mount Rubidoux because of something I had read in the Weird California book that Greg is one of the co-authors of. And I had no business driving. I mean, the condition I was in with no range motion, I had to completely turn my body to even see if someone was in the right lane. I shouldn't have been driving. But I drove over to Riverside, and it's a very easy, very pedestrian walking path, and I'm in pain. And I walk up this path to this thing called the Peace Tower, a round granite tower. I'm looking at this thing. I'd never been up there. I'm walking around it, and I decide, I'll take a look in this little window, this slot window. It's very medieval looking up on Mount Rubidoux. And it was after I had gone up to this tower and I touched the outer wall of the tower and was looking around, that suddenly I realized the pain was gone, completely gone. I had full range motion, and this was just suddenly. So I'm thinking, now, wait a minute, what just happened? I said, a few days ago, I said, hey, Catherine, show me something. And then on the very way home from that, I suddenly get the urge to go take a look at this hill, and I find this weird, strange quarry from which I drive away totally drained of energy and in pain, left in pain, debilitating pain and stiffness. Because of something I read, I get the urge to go walk up this mountain, and I find this tower, and suddenly I'm healed. What's going on here? And then subsequent research led to evidence of the suggestion that there is some telluric current energy connection, because Rubidoux connects in a Fibonacci spiral, the ridge of Mount Rubidoux, it's actually technically a hill, possibly forces the flow of the energy, the telluric current, down to, it's on a map, I've charted on a map, down to this quarry. So the theory would be, wow, I was at the negative end of this line at the quarry, and that's what debilitated me. And then I was led to the positive end, which is where the energy is literally that, positive, and that healed or cured what I got at the other end. And this whole experience was the result of me kind of being a smartass and saying, okay, hey there, entity, show me something.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, exactly. And
what element do you think your psychosomatic, subconscious process may have had something to do with this? Or do you fully feel that this was something that was manifested and demanifested in the physical realm outside of your involvement?
Based on the totality of the circumstances of the 8 years of research, investigate, and experience with all this stuff relative to Hecate, the Hecate energy, whatever the Hecate thing is that's going on, I think I'm convinced it's more than psychosomatic. But here's the point of it is no one, not you guys, no one else it can possibly be convinced that it's not psychosomatic until and unless you experience it yourself.
Right.
And that's what I'm an advocate of. There's no way I can prove it. You got to experience it yourself. And I think, unfortunately, for a lot of UFO witnesses and witnesses of other phenomenon, that's the nature of this stuff. And what these, if we're talking about an intelligence, that's what they're doing in these experiences, is they're making it such that there is no way you're going to absolutely be able to prove the experience. The individual must experience it for themselves.
Wow.
So I don't know.
Man, I hate when that happens.
I love when it happens because it means that something's happening.
Yeah, but it's the kind of thing that it's like that camera experience that I had. I mean, the experience itself was exhilarating. I mean, I was, as the shadow leaned out from the wall behind me, I was kind of mugging for the camera at that particular moment. And if that clip had been initialized, it would have been, it would have been one of those classic, Patterson Gimlin, style, historical pieces of footage, because it would have been, to my knowledge, the first 3D footage of some sort of spectre-ish type apparition. And of course, me mugging at the camera at that particular instant would have just given it that extra little cherry on top. And but all these things, I think there is, and Greg and I have talked about this many times. We've discussed this on the show quite a number of times. There is an interactive, reflective quality to many, if not most, of these experiences.
Let's go back to the reflective factor. More to come with Gene, Chris, Walter, and Greg. You're in
the Paracast.
Is there a secret UFO agenda? Do strange creatures from the darkest corners of the mind roam the Earth? Is there evidence for mind control, time travel, or devious government conspiracies? Find out the inside scoop on the latest conspiracies, paranormal activity, and Fortean phenomena when you subscribe to Tim Beckley's Conspiracy Journal. It's jam-packed with stories, special book and DVD promotions, and the best news, it's absolutely free, sent right to your mailbox. Plus, a bonus free email newsletter sent out every Friday. Simply send an email with your name and address to Mr. UFO at webtv.net. That's Mr. UFO at webtv.net. Find out what they don't want you to know.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to ParanormalDate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you like.
Identity theft is real. So real, it could be making you its next victim right now. At the gas pump, bank, or store where you shop with your credit card, bad guys with RFID scanners can peer into your wallet or purse from a short distance away, stealing information from your RFID-enabled credit or debit cards, passports, room keys, and ID cards without you even knowing it. Stop the bad guys now with an RFID blocking wallet from ID Stronghold. ID Stronghold founded the entire RFID blocking industry over 10 years ago. Their stylish sleeves, clutch purses, and wallets are shielded throughout. The best you can buy at great pricing, as low as $14.99. Don't wait until your wallet needs replacing. Protect your identity now. Click idstronghold.com or call 1-800-610-2770. That's 1-800-610-2770. ID Stronghold, the original RFID wallet company.
It's very easy to be a criminal. All you need to burglarize a home is one simple household tool, a pair of scissors. If your home security system can be compromised by a criminal using scissors, then you're making it easy for them. Almost every home security system, even those sold by big-name companies, has a weakness: the phone line. You shell out $1,500, get locked into a long-term contract, and think you're safe. But a burglar can destroy your alarm in seconds with one snip. And when a burglar cuts your phone line, you're defenseless. Simply Safe Home Security is the smarter choice. Built by Harvard engineers, Simply Safe uses a wireless connection to call the cops. Scissors can't cut it, and that means your home stays safe. 24/7 professional monitoring is under $15 a month with no contract. Simply Safe Home Security keeps you safer than the other guys for half the cost. Protect your home with the alarm you can trust. Simply Safe. Go to simplysafedefense.com now for an exclusive 10% offer. That's simplysafedefense.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
This is one of those things where each member of our little cast of characters has to decide whether to say the Paracast, or leave it silent. Walter Bosley, Greg Bishop, Gene Steinberg, Chris O'Brien. Chris, you were talking about the reflective factor of UFOs. This is something that John Keel was talking about way back when. Go on, please.
Well, it's not only UFOs. I think it's anything that smacks of, some sort of supernatural, quasi magical, if you will, for lack of a better term. I mean, that encompasses a lot of different phenomena. It's not only UFOs. In fact, I think Greg's point about proximity is, I think, a very, very important insight. It seems the closer to you that the event is, whatever it is, whether it's a UFO, a ghost, some sort of aberration, the closer to you it is, I think Greg's point is it's harder to document that. And I think that could be a really important insight, Greg. I really think you're onto something there. And that really kind of made me sit up and go, that kind of, I heard a big gong go off when you said that. And it makes a lot of sense. And looking at field investigative work with that in mind, that can change in a way. It can let's put it this way: it can inspire an investigator to come up with different types of arrays, let's say, or different types of methodology in documenting events. You should have maybe a particular set of protocols for close proximity events, and then have a different set of protocols and even gear, what have you, for further away events that happen further away from you. And that really is putting my wheels in motion here, thinking of some ways to surmount that, because I think, Greg, that's one of those blind spots that we may have been unaware of in terms of being out in the field, that there may be a different approach that's required to fully document and at least come up with some real tangible evidence of close proximity events. And you really got me thinking there. It's very, very insightful.
I think I probably stole it from Volée or somebody, because they said the closer you are to something, it seems like it has more effect on the witness. The trick with the thing that you want to do is having something happen to somebody that's completely unpredictable. Unless you're in, I guess, some sort of a window area, then you have to have, a rapid response team and get all the stuff out there. Who knows? The other thing that I thought of when you were saying that is the questions that are asked of witnesses ought to be a lot more wide-ranging, different, counterintuitive, even stupid or silly sounding, I think. Because every time somebody witnesses something strange, to me it's like taking a bucket of paint and throwing it at the wall. And they're all going to be buckets of paint thrown at the wall, but they're all going to, turn into these different splashes and curlicues and backsplashes and droplets and everything. These are all going to be slightly different, or maybe a lot different, for different witnesses. So I think there's got to be some questions asked of witnesses going forward. dumb ones. What happened to you 2 weeks before? What happened to you 2 weeks after? How did your life change? Did your relationships change? Did your life become more difficult, easier? Any of these things, a lot of subjective things, because objectivity hasn't worked real well so far. It's got us a lot of data and a lot of maybe some patterns, but the subjective, I think, is what's going on with these with witnesses.
Exactly.
It's very subjective.
Yeah,
So
those are all questions that I've been asking my witnesses for years.
Well, good. You have it in a database. Start combing that and massaging it.
You've hit a nail on the head there, and just because something's subjective, I think it should be pointed out. Can never be pointed out too much. Doesn't mean it's necessarily that it's not real. Too many times it's subjective, therefore it's not real. Okay, I know there's people who live in that. That it's got to be material. I've got to, okay, whatever. There's whatever. But the subjective part, particularly what happened after the experience, I have found to be really interesting. I've talked with Chris before about Crow and Raven, and I've had experiences where they were around a lot as other things, weird things were happening. I had an experience in 2012 with an owl. Now, we get them occasionally, but I'll put it to you this way. I have not laid eyes on an owl here since this experience, and I can't tell you when it had been, up to the experience. But one night, around midnight-ish, maybe a little before, maybe a little after, I can't remember. I'll have to look at the video because I have it on video. In fact, I'll show it to you guys later. I heard this, what I thought was this hellacious, this horrifying scream of a woman, right? And we know owls can do, that make these terrifying sounds. And
these screech owls.
Yeah, exactly. And within moments of hearing this, I thought, oh, there must be an owl outside, right? Because, so I go running outside, and sure enough, perched at the top of the tree in my front yard was the biggest owl, one of the biggest I'd ever seen. And it sat there, way at the top, and it was like it was waiting for me to run back in and get my camera. It stayed right there. I ran in, got my camera, came out, started the camera up, got a few seconds of footage, and it stayed right there. And then it spread its wings slowly out and then took off and flew away to the east. And I captured all this on video. Well, I believe it was within a few days that an uncle of mine died.
That's a common interpretation, a Native American interpretation about an owl sighting.
Yeah, I'm convinced that there's some, but that's just me. I'm convinced that it was a portent of some kind. That this.
You should definitely mention this to Mike Cleland. He's in the final stages of finishing up a book about synchronicity and owl sightings.
I think I did, and I think I even sent him the photos from the video. But I'll definitely contact him again and remind him or let him know if I didn't. But it was something that again, I can at least show you the photos and the video of the owl because I did capture that. And
of course, the skeptic is going to say, "Well, that's just totally a subjective interpretation and a coincidence that your uncle died."
Of course, yeah, of course, absolutely. That's all it ever is, right?
Let me ask you a fast question here. When we talk about owls, isn't that also supposed to be part of the alleged screen memory that involves a UFO abduction? You see the owls and you see the eyes. And supposedly if you are allowed to remember what really, in quotes, happened to you, what happened was truly that you were taken aboard this spacecraft and they poked things in you and they checked your DNA or they took samples of semen or whatever, and they were ready to create a hybrid race. I'm just getting very far to this, but I'm just using the owl symbology as being indicative of that as well. I'm going to ask the question now, but we'll have it answered in our next segment. How about that? Okay. Our guests this week include Walter Bosley, former agent, so therefore he knows what the government is up to, and Greg Bishop, who is looking at the excluded middle, and Gene and Chris, who are looking at it all. You're in the Paracast.
Great minds think alike. The network for the independent-minded. The Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Silver has always been nature's very own antibiotic, and only one system allows you to produce an endless supply of nano-sized silver solutions right from the convenience of your home. Silver Lungs. With the addition of our unique lung delivery system, respiratory infections are targeted directly, where traditional oral administration simply cannot reach. This pioneering method also preserves the original particle sizes and delivers your silver solution directly into the bloodstream. See the Silver Lungs generator and lung delivery system at silverlungs.com. That's silverlungs.com.
It's time to build your own emergency food stockpile with the industry leader, My Patriot Supply. Once you try them, you'll know why so many Americans like you have made them part of their emergency preparedness plan. Experience the My Patriot Supply difference today with this unbelievable offer. Right now, a 4-week food supply is only $99, and that includes free shipping. That's 50% off the online price. Call 800-274-3070 to claim yours. Limit 2 per caller while supplies last. This offer isn't available online, so you want to make sure and grab this opportunity to get prepared today. 800-274-3070 to get your 4-week food supply for the incredible price of only $99, and it'll be shipped to you completely free. Call 800-274-3070 right now. That's 800-274-3070 to claim yours while supplies last. Don't wait. Call today.
Identity theft is real. So real, it could be making you its next victim right now. At the gas pump, bank, or store where you shop with your credit card, bad guys with RFID scanners can peer into your wallet or purse from a short distance away, stealing information from your RFID-enabled credit or debit cards, passports, room keys, and ID cards without you even knowing it. Stop the bad guys now with an RFID blocking wallet from ID Stronghold. ID Stronghold founded the entire RFID blocking industry over 10 years ago. Their stylish sleeves, clutch purses, and wallets are shielded throughout. The best you can buy at great pricing, as low as $14.99. Don't wait until your wallet needs replacing. Protect your identity now. Click idstronghold.com or call 1-800-610-2770. That's 1-800-610-2770. ID Stronghold, the original RFID wallet company.
We all know that Berkey water purification systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey water filtration systems. The Berkey Light systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light system today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at goberkey.com. That's goberkey.com today.
This is Jerome Clark, author of the UFO Encyclopedia and other books. You're listening to the Paracast.
Okay, I guess we can call that the Parrot Cast. We're talking about owls now getting parrots.
There you go.
Okay, so I was talking about here the image of the owl being connected with UFO abductions. Who wants to take that?
I would like to comment on that first. A few moments ago, you had asked me if I thought it was, psychosomatic or if they're, when I was talking about the St. Catherine Hecate thing with the tower and with the quarry, and I said that over the course of 7 or 8 years, the totality of the circumstances and what I've experienced lead me to think it was a real experience with Hecate. This owl thing goes back to that because it so happens that owls are directly connected to Hecate, as Hecate is connected to the Athena, the goddess Athena image, whose familiar is an owl. And so here again, we have whatever this Hecate thing is going on. And remember, Hecate is also the goddess of the gateway to the underworld. She
right, Persephone. And
so here we have an owl coming to me, telling me something, and within, a few days, someone in the family dies. So even though I recognize, exactly what, Gene was saying with the whole UFO thing, that it's a screen. Yes, exactly. It's a symbol. It's a screen for something weird going on. Most definitely.
Well, there's two things with the subjective thing. One is, I think, while we were talking about all this, I think a lot of answers, maybe not definite ones, are hiding in the subjectivity. And the other thing is, things can be subjective. Answers, clues, and all that can be subjective. The trick is to bring them back and communicate that to other people in a way that makes them listen instead of them just saying that was subjective. Because you can find things out that are very personal to you, and the way you found them out are very personal. But if you're lucky, you can find other people that have found that out, or some sort of information from somewhere else, which has become a lot easier to back up what your subjective impression is. And if you can do that, I think that pushes things forward a little bit.
Sure, if you even need to. I think there's a point where one crosses a Rubicon or crosses a line where you no longer need to know that the experience is common. You no longer need to convince anybody of anything. You're getting what you need out of it personally, and there's a little bit of also you kind of like what you're getting. You feel like the experiences are moving you personally along where you need to be. My view is each person, if they want to experience these things, if they want to know the truth of the reality of these things, go out there and expose yourself to it. Go out there and investigate it yourself. Don't expect other people who are investigating it to convince you in a book or a film or whatever. Do your own damn work is what I tell people. I'm not going to convince you. I have no responsibility whatsoever to convince anybody else. Let them get out there and experience and see if they can if they give it a true, sincere shot, right? Then I want to see them deny as much as they deny. But yeah, you reach a point. I've reached that point where it means little to nothing to me to convince others.
Well, then we're also getting into that realm that I was kind of hinting at before, and that is the observer effect. And then by coming up with a hypothesis, I mean, obviously the scientific method is to, try to bolster that and put it in such a way or a formula that others can replicate your results. But when it gets into the whole realm of coming up with a theory and looking for some sort of subjective validation of a theory, of an experience, of a possible, conditional elements around sightings in general. It's a tightrope walk between objectivity and subjectivity. And so you have to be really careful. There are many investigators out there that have become firmly convinced of a particular answer, and then that has created blinders on them, and they're, I would say, intellectually dishonest by going around and only collecting data that supports a particular contention or theory or hypothesis, or Linda Howe obviously comes to mind. Stephen Greer. I mean, there's people that they have blinders on because they are convinced that they're right, and all the other data be damned. I'm only going to present the data that supports my conclusion, and that's a problem.
That's pretty widespread in the field too, Chris. I mean, we can name other researchers. I think as much as I respect and like Stanton Friedman, I think he's locked into a particular groove, and it doesn't matter. He's never going to change that.
We have a saying in the Air Force, flexibility is the key to air power. I think that applies here. You have to allow yourself to remain flexible and open as to, when you make your conclusions, and if you're even going to draw conclusions. Sometimes, some people say, and Chris has probably heard this, you hear people with Native American backgrounds say, I've heard the phrase, I don't get too deep into my own medicine. In other words, they don't try to analyze what's happening too much. They just experience, and they draw the wisdom or the information that is being communicated or that they're supposed to get, and they just don't get too deep into analyzing it. I have personally found that more happens when you keep it private and you don't try to draw too many conclusions. You just kind of say, here I am, show me.
This is a good spot, Walter, to bring up a couple of questions that we have in our forums, where our listeners and forum posters can go to the question bank and post questions for our guests. This one comes from Robert Burnt State, who's one of our favorite posters. He's just passed the 3,500 mark in posts on the forums.
He gets a gold watch next year, but it's going to be the $12.88 watch that I got from Walmart. I'm going to get the gold version of that for him.
Well, if we have time, I'm going to go ahead and shoot a question at you. Some might describe your work, Walter, as a conspiracist, but how do you personally see the subject matter in the Empire of the Wheel series, for instance? Would you describe it as a hidden parahistory, something just below the surface of mainstream reality that wants to stay forgotten, but you are bringing it to the surface to be exposed?
Yes. Yeah, that's actually a very good description of what I feel with the Empire of the Wheel books. That's pretty good as to what it is I was doing with those. Yeah, there is both a very nefarious human activity going on in all that, connected to some paranormal stuff, and it definitely wants to be. I think it's more it's more the human motive that wants to keep it hidden than the high strangeness actually is what brought it to the surface to me, to begin with. It's the paranormal, for lack of a better word, aspect that wants it to be exposed. It's the human element that wants to keep it buried. Here's an interesting thing. I was interviewed by just about by every paper in the San Bernardino Valley except this San Bernardino paper, The Sun, which notoriously it's a very weak paper. I mean, it's gotten even weaker over the years. San Bernardino is one of those places that wants to be someplace else. It wants to be another place, and the San Bernardino Sun has long been a reflection of that.
You would think they'd be the first paper to contact you.
Yeah, even if they wanted to, trash me, right? Exactly. No, they ignore it. They ignore the whole thing because it has some stuff that's not very flattering to San Bernardino history. I mean, San Bernardino's got enough problems. First of all, it's San Bernardino, and it's gone bankrupt in the last few years, and it's got a leadership problem, which it's always had for decades, and it's a city with issues, and I think it probably ignores what I've written because it doesn't want one more thing tagged on to it. But all that stuff to say, there's also people that are relatives and descendants of some of these people that I write about, and there might be an element of that where it's like there's no way that they want this stuff brought up.
Let's go into more of that and other things in our remaining 5 segments with Walter Bosley, Greg Bishop, with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast. Independently leading the way for the nation. Compelling talk for every political persuasion. We are GCN.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there is The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Talk to a sales rep at iWeb.com. Use the promo code TechNightOwl for a special discount.
Making the right decisions is a challenge to investors. Are we going to see economic growth, slide into a recession, or at worst, depression? Hi, Ted Anderson from Midas Resources. We all know when a company acts irresponsibly, divesting ourselves in a move towards safety is prudent. When the market becomes volatile, U.S. Treasuries are a safe haven. But what do you do when the U.S. government overextends itself and spends beyond its means? Many investors are turning toward gold as a common-sense alternative to traditional paper investments. Midas Resources has put together a powerful book titled 10 Reasons to Own Gold, discussing costs, benefits, risks, featuring full-color illustrations, weights, and measures. The book is free and can be yours by calling 800-686-2237. Paper investments are dwarfed by gold's 6,000-year history. Discover how gold may be right for you and your IRA by calling 800-686-2237. Whether buying or it's time for you to sell, the book is free. Call 800-686-2237.
Usually, the older one gets, the less you are able to absorb amino acids and the less you are able to repair the 100 trillion cells of your body. As a result, you'll have less energy, your tissues will shrink, and you'll become wrinkled. An older person will typically injure more easily and heal more slowly. Not fun. However, if you can consume a protein powder that is easier to absorb, then you may be able to gain back some strength, muscle, and speed of recovery. One World Whey is a highly digestible whey protein powder that may be the perfect answer for you.
My name is Errol. I'm 74 years old. You know, the taste of One World Whey is amazing. I play pickleball, and since taking One World Whey and your trace mineral supplement, I have more energy and recover faster from my working out. I used to take another grass-fed whey protein powder, but now I'm getting much better results using One World Whey.
Call 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. Or visit oneworldway.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hey neighbor, what are you doing digging? You had a heart attack last year.
Oh, I know. I was told no more hard labor.
Then why are you digging?
Well, I've been taking Extendovite. It's been approved to help my heart.
Extendovite? Is that a new drug?
No, not a drug. It's more like an herbal combination made from garlic and cayenne.
Herbal? How can that help?
Well, actually, we've taken herbs for thousands of years. And Extendovite is doing the job for me.
Does your doctor know about Extendovite?
Yeah, my doctor knows, and he said it seems to be working for you, so don't stop taking it. I feel great taking Extendovite. I don't want to stop.
To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hi, this is Joshua P. Warren, author of The Poor Man's Paranormal, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
I told you, listeners, way back when, that we're thinking of having listener participation in our stinger. And we'll set this up in the forums maybe in the next few weeks, and winners will get free memberships or extensions in the Paracast Plus. How's that? How's that grab you, folks?
I can't wait. I think it's a great idea. We should definitely do it. Have a stinger contest. I love it. Well, okay, since we're on the subject of listener questions, now, Walter, you did mention a very interesting coincidental occurrence that happened when you went to the quarry, and then later on you went to the opposite end of this particular telluric current path, and you had your physical malady sort of disappear magically. This is another question from Burn State. And what I would suggest is there anything else that could possibly fall into this particular subject matter? And he wants to know if you have any reason to believe that telluric currents could possibly impact someone's thinking patterns or sensory perceptions, causing an altered experience of reality. Now, you talked about a real experience of reality. How about an altered experience of reality?
Sure. I don't see why not, because, we know that we have neuroelectric, I don't know the phrase for it, in the human body. So naturally, why not? Why wouldn't, even though telluric current is an ELF, extreme low frequency, why not if the geophysical circumstances are right? Why wouldn't it affect perceptions, or perhaps maybe if you're in a particular spot, they could be manipulated by a third party. Sure, absolutely. I'd like to note that what I learned about Mount Rubidoux and the telluric current there, I did not know until well after this experience. This is not something that I was aware of, the spiral of energy and stuff connected with Mount Rubidoux, and then I had the experience.
So this is all kind of back engineering the experience then.
Yeah, here's what it's like. It's like the experience happened to make me look at that or to point me in a certain direction. And that's what a lot of these experiences have been for me. I have the experience first, which is very weird and strange. And then when I look deeper, I find something. It's not the other way around where, even I would question if someone said, well, I was doing this research and I found where there was energy and then I had a weird experience. I'd say, oh, okay. I get where the skeptics are coming from. What I just don't get is the religious devotion to it. But I don't see why at all that telluric current couldn't affect our perceptions. Absolutely. I think maybe even people are drawn to these things so that their perceptions can be messed with.
They're asking for it then? Are you saying that they're asking to have their perceptions messed with?
Well, when I say messed with, I don't always
define
necessarily, as in the negative sense, but I think there is a natural human desire to touch the extraordinary, to know or experience or wonder if there is something beyond that part of the material spectrum that we can all see, feel, hear, and such.
I think most people sublimate that if that's a common
because it scares them.
Yeah, I think most people actually go into denial, and it's like the cat that covers its eyes when it's being dive bombed by a bird, because if I can't see it, it's not there.
Yeah, and I think a lot, not all, but I think a lot of your so-called skeptic people, what it is they're afraid. They may not consciously realize that it's fear, but it's a fear of several that I know personally, or the people that I know, my closest friends that have skeptical outlooks, or in some cases, just flat out attitudes. I know them, I know their lives, and I know them well enough to know what they're afraid of. And what they're afraid of is not having a handle. There's comedian Bill Burr, and in his routine, he jokes about, how men react to things differently than women do. And he's talking about being on a plane when they hit a bunch of turbulence, and this guy lets out this scream that, sounds like a girl screaming. He turns to the guy and he says, come on, man, get a hold of yourself. Be a man. Act like you have an answer even when you don't. That kind of thing. And that's what I'm getting to, is a lot of these guys, that's what it is. They got to have a handle, and they come from that attitude that act like you have an answer even if you don't, because they have this fear of not having the answer. They have this fear of not having the handle on everything. So what they'll do is they'll just tell themselves, oh, this is garbage and that's nonsense and that's BS, just because they don't want to deal with it really. When you get down to it, they don't want to do it. Now, in some cases, yeah, it might be BS. It might be that they simply are, truly not convinced. Notice that I said a lot or some. I didn't say all are this way. But I think fear of maybe experiencing something they can't handle, even if it's a subconscious fear of that.
Do you find that some of these regular skeptics or professional skeptics are strangely drawn to the subject, even if, as you say, they're fearful that it might be truthful?
Yeah, think about it. Why do these guys show up so much, like in the forums? Why do they listen to this stuff so much? So, I'm talking about the more rabid ones that think it's all a bunch of BS. Why really do they just are they unable to resist listening and reading and interacting with this stuff? It's because
like rubbernecking at a fatal car accident. Some people are just fascinated with train wrecks and people's inability to actually use some sort of powers of discernment.
And some of it, is just that. But I would venture to say that, it's, what Gene said is that there's something drawing them, because I think somewhere inside it's the phrase, I want to believe. And there's skeptics out there that admit that. They want to, the more positive ones, they want certain things to be real. They really do. They want ET to be real. And what it is they're trying to be reasonable about discerning, okay, let's separate the wheat from the chaff. So I mean, I don't paint all skeptics with a broad brush, but there's a certain portion of them that really can be, and those guys should be disregarded.
Well, the ones like Lance Moody and there's several that I think are doing providing a valuable service for the field, because they're weeding out some of the people. It's like the emperor's on parade. You need somebody to run up and say, hey, look, you don't have any clothes on. Who's your tailor? I think they do, in some cases, provide a valuable service. The outing of Phil Imbrogno would be the obvious example with Lance. Phil Klass was involved in exposing some pretty interesting individuals and cases over the years.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think the subject is like a flame, and we're all moths sort of flitting around, and some moths are smart enough not to get burnt. Others, aren't. And unfortunately, we do have a lack of critical thinking in the field. There's a lot of people that are only in it to titillate their own amusement centers in their psyches, and they try to pull fast ones. And it's such a morass. You start adding in angles of possible disinformation, psychological operations, and that kind of brings me to a question here from Dissection Stalker, who's one of our posters at forum.theparacast.com.
I won't get into the definition of that name. Dissection Stalker. Ooh.
Well, he likes to pull things apart, and he's a real devil's advocate, and he's very convinced that a lot of this stuff is very human generated, that there's a lot more manipulation within the culture by certain elements, shadowy elements within the military-industrial complex, the intelligence communities and whatnot. But he's asking both you guys if you think it's likely that the so-called UFO waves over the years since 47 may have been psychological operations or propaganda messaging that's run onto the public and or Russians that were planned by the military or military-industrial complex think tanks. Assuming human causes, can you speculate what any UFO wave may have been about, if that's the case?
You know what? Let's just pause for a break here and then answer this question. This is too convoluted and too involved to answer in 40 seconds. But we can try. We can speak very fast. And then we can, of course, do it as a chorus so each one gets their own points of view. I do want you to check the Paracast Plus out to learn how to get our other radio show after the Paracast, which is color commentary, after-show chatter, pre-show chatter, etc., etc. In fact, on last week's episode, we hatched the idea to have Walter Bosley and Greg Bishop to come on this week. So lots of things go on there. To be able to get that show, you have to join the Paracast Plus. Go to plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com. It's a nominal monthly, annual, or 5-year subscription rate to participate. You also get the ad-free version of the show, one of Chris's books if you subscribe to a year or more. Lots to come. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Not just an alternative to the mainstream media. We're the premier independent talk radio network. We are GCN.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors, classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-905-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. Say goodbye to the cable guy and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. Sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV. Say goodbye to the cable guy. Cut costs and get more. 1-855-905-MY-TV. 1-855-905-MY-TV.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
So a long question opened up by Chris.
Yeah, I'll restate it.
Very quickly, very shortly, because people have heard it already.
Right. Well, in other words, do you think it's likely that some of these UFO waves have been psychological ops or propaganda that's been run on the American people, or possibly by the Russians? And assuming this is so, why do you think this is happening? What are these UFOs about? These waves? What's the end game on this?
Well, that's a question that, has been answered a lot over the last, I think, more than a few years. There's been books written on this. Yeah, of course. But I think that it's manipulation included in other sources of it. It's not just that. I would lean more towards less that it's the Russians doing something on us than it is, our own. I'm intrigued currently with the theory, the whole thing connected with the Carol Rosen story about Wernher von Braun, and what he said the plan was, and that we're entering, I believe, the third or fourth stage, and that being that there would be Cold War, and then there would be terrorism, and then there would be nations of concern, and then there would be an asteroid threat, and then finally there would be a trumped-up so-called ET threat. I'm presently very intrigued with that idea, so therefore, at this point in time, my answer would be that the whole UFO wave thing might very well be a lot of it fabricated, or whatever's real, manipulated to serve that end when they reach the point in the so-called plan where they want to convince everybody, the masses or whatever, that there is an ET threat. And here, this will be after decades of the whole UFO experience having been experienced by generations and generations of people around the world, so that it's the ruse, the plan is more believable when it is finally applied. Anyway, that's what I'm presently thinking and intrigued with.
I think that's a good answer, and that leads me to another question from Dissection Stalker, and he's asking, can you agree that the military-industrial complex and the military will go that far? And for what reason? Is it to help sustain military budgets and create exotic futuristic weapons? What would be the motivation to do this besides some sort of, I don't know, kind of weird sort of vaporous cultural control or something? What would be the rationale?
The rationale, you have to the idea that this all starts with the military or a military objective or vision is erroneous. The people who would do this to us as a social body for the social control, you're talking more politicians, people, elitists within, the financial world, but politicians. Those are the people that, the military, they respond to military objectives. They develop these things honestly, for military objectives. Now, I'm not naive. I'm not saying that, there isn't some type of manipulation of public perception of military technology. Of course there is. I've talked about it myself in the past. I mean, I'm on record saying that the Air Force, why not let people think it's UFOs and little green men or grays or whatever? Because, if it camouflages a platform, a secret classified advanced technology platform, so much the better. Anything nefarious as far as manipulating, controlling the people, I'm telling you, that's going to come from politicians. That's not going to come from
corporations. I think politicians are just puppets of the corporations.
Well, that goes into what I said about the financial world. Right. But let's not just blame Western capitalist entities for it. Well, first of all, there's more capitalists now in the Eastern world too, but that's why, again, you go back to people who want to social engineering. It's the social engineers, the elitists who use social engineering that we really got to look at. And they're more than happy, just like the military would be more than happy to let you think that advanced technology is from another world. It's the social engineers that are more than happy to let you think that it's some evil general or some evil corporate CEO. What it is a lot of these guys are all in bed with each other. Yeah.
It's kind of hard for me to imagine a Kenneth Lay or somebody, a Lee Iacocca, coming up with these fantastic scenarios of manipulating fear-based belief.
Some of them might go along with it if there's a profit, the more corrupt.
What do you think, Greg? I mean, you've been sitting here pretty quiet through the last segment or so. I mean, do you feel that there's a validity to this? And if so, what would you add?
If there is some validity to it, for me, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to if you want to know how, we were just discussing, you guys were just discussing how that perception is used amongst, the powers that be. That it has nothing to do with what the source of the mystery is. And you will not find a person that was more invested in studying how the government uses the UFO phenomenon to their ends, especially to cover up advanced technology. Yeah, that goes on. I think it still goes on, but that is completely separate from the idea of what the phenomenon is, how it affects us, and how we're going to understand it.
So in other words, you're making a real demarcation line, a distinction between the real core of the phenomena and possibly manipulation of other things surrounding it.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is, I think personally, it would take a whole hell of a lot of convincing, not just the government saying, "Oh, UFOs are here." That's fine, but you know what? When they talk about earthly things, about like we were saying, like unemployment and wars and what politicians do and who's paying off whom. That's all stuff we know about. We've seen it. We've experienced it. A precious few people have experienced a UFO sighting comparatively. So as a tool for some kind of propaganda, I don't know how well it would work. I could be totally wrong, but you're taking something that most people think is, either questionable or, unprovable or whatever, and then using it as a tool of policy. Now, if it affects enough of the population where it can be useful, then I guess it can be useful. But as a widespread way of controlling people, manipulating the perception of the UFO phenomenon, I think is low on the list.
What about just psychological experiments to see how people would react to this? And I bring up abductions as a possible example, where these events are manipulated to determine just why or how people would react if they had some kind of alien contact.
Yeah, totally possible and useful. And much sillier and more esoteric things have been done to people in the name of mind control and espionage and all that. So yeah, I'm completely convinced, almost 100%, that abductions phenomenon and the UFO phenomenon has been used as has been studied as a tool of psychological warfare and has been used, but not. And I don't know how widespread it's been. But as a data point for whoever wants to find that out, being people in private industry and the government, yeah, it'd be very valuable to know those things. And like I said, I'm sure it's been done to some extent.
I think the extent to which it's been done, I would agree with Greg, the small extent to which it's been done is the point at which the ink was injected into the water, and the public reaction and this whole thing that the public has created in its interest is the spreading of that ink. Does that make sense? Whereas the injection point is the small little point at which manipulation did take place.
Right,
and then the result is where that ink spreads out.
Yeah, and then it has a life of its own. And if the ink is injected at the proper point, the desired impact and effect will then unfold organically.
And they just stand back and watch it spread. And I think that's what has gone on.
Well, this brings me to a very interesting question.
Let's do that question in our next segment.
Okay.
We've got Gene and Chris and Walter and Greg. You're in
the Paracast.
Neighbors, are you tired of dealing with a slow web hosting provider? Well, check out A2 Hosting and their screaming fast Swift server platform. They even have SSDs that load pages 300% faster than the competition. Ready to give your site a speed boost? Well, tell you what, neighbors, head on over to a2hosting.com. That's A2, that's number 2, a2hosting.com. Check out their Prime hosting account. And get this, neighbors, they're even giving you an exclusive 25% off discount for all our listeners. 25%. And remember, their Guru Crew support team is standing by 24/7, 365 days a year to answer any of your questions. Now, to get the discount, use the coupon code GENE when you check out.
It's very easy to be a criminal. All you need to burglarize a home is one simple household tool, a pair of scissors. If your home security system can be compromised by a criminal using scissors, then you're making it easy for them. Almost every home security system, even those sold by big-name companies, has a weakness: the phone line. You shell out $1,500, get locked into a long-term contract, and think you're safe. But a burglar can destroy your alarm in seconds with one snip. And when a burglar cuts your phone line, you're defenseless. Simply Safe Home Security is the smarter choice. Built by Harvard engineers, Simply Safe uses a wireless connection to call the cops. Scissors can't cut it, and that means your home stays safe. 24/7 professional monitoring is under $15 a month with no contract. Simply Safe Home Security keeps you safer than the other guys for half the cost. Protect your home with the alarm you can trust. Simply Safe. Go to simplysafedefense.com now for an exclusive 10% offer. That's simplysafedefense.com.
As if chlorine in our water weren't bad enough, now they're adding ammonia?
It's true. Some municipalities are now adding ammonia plus chlorine to your water supply. It's a disinfectant called chloramine. But with a trusted Big Berkey water filter, you can keep chloramine out of your water. New NSF EPA certified lab tests show EPA Berkey water filters remove chloramines, pharmaceuticals, BPA, pesticides, bacteria and viruses, all forms of fluoride, and much more. Big Berkey water filters are the original and most trusted on the market, the gold standard in water purification. And our filters last for years at less than 2 cents per gallon. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get your Big Berkey today. Call 1-877-99-BERKEY or click BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
You pick pick up the receiver. With your heart racing and sweat dripping from your forehead, you finally muster the courage to dial the number to call into your favorite talk radio show. It rings once, twice, and then...
Hello, it's GCN. What's your name and the state you're calling from?
Surprised you got through, you squeak out.
Jason from Minnesota.
Please hold.
As you patiently wait for your turn, you begin to daydream about being a famous talk radio host and what it would be like to have your own show.
Jason from Minnesota, you're up.
Millions of loyal listeners worldwide waiting to call and talk to you.
Caller, are you there?
Cheering crowds surround you, calling out your name.
Jason! Jason!
Going once, twice. Okay, we gotta move on to the next caller.
You blew it.
Huh? Wait, no!
Interact with the host you're listening to right now, online at GCNlive.com. Click on the community link. Engage with other listeners. Ask questions. Start debates. Don't agree with the host? Let them know. Be a part of the community at GCNlive.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Gene and Chris, Walter and Greg, answering your questions. Chris?
Well, this is a really good one. This comes from Ravens Fee, who has been a forum poster for over a year and has only posted 25 messages. And you brought Ravens Fee out of the closet here with this question. And it's addressed to Walter, but I think I'd like to get Greg's take on this as well. But first, you, Walter. She goes, not including you, but many of the current proponents of American conspiracy theories appear, at least to someone from the UK, such as Ravensfee, to be incredibly right-wing. In the UK and much of Europe, conspiracy theories are more likely to be associated with the left. Would you agree with this characterization? And what, if anything, do you think this tells us about conspiracy theories and their dissemination? Good question.
Yeah, that is. Well, being mostly able to speak, as for the American side, that's a very good observation. Most of the real serious conspiracy theorists I know are very far to the right. That is interesting. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because the human need to have the when things aren't going the way people want them to go, there is this human need to have a villain, have a big bad wolf, so they're looking for that. And wow, did the question stump me? Maybe I just agree with
Well, how about this? I think in America, the left-wing conspiracy theorists and buffs, if you will, they point to the right wing and say that they're at the core of a lot of these conspiracies.
Oh, yeah, true. So, the left wing here says
I don't totally agree with the characterization of the conspiracy theorists in America being all mostly right wing. There's plenty of left wing conspiracy theorists, but they blame the right wing for the conspiracies.
Good point. I didn't look at it that way. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I guess I'd agree with the characterization in general. And it goes back for a long time. I mean, a lot of the interstellar banker stuff from the 1950s and all that, those were kind of right-wing too, I guess, if you really wanted to characterize them. But the first thing I think of when somebody asks like that, a question like that, is there's an old illustration in one of the Subgenius books. There's a picture of these like left and right wing people arguing with each other, at least a continuum of them, and way, way, way over on the crazy side of the left wing, and way, way, way over on the crazy side of the right wing, they meet. And they become the same thing. And that's kind of how I look at it. I mean,
it's like Arizona politics. It's so right wing, it's actually left wing and libertarian, So, you have a choice. You can go 359 degrees around a circle. You can just turn around.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, we have some interesting questions again from Burnt State. He's pointing out Chris Rakowski's UFO survey from 2014. And according to that survey, UFO case reports have been on the rise with a spike in 2012 that saw double the amount of case reports. And I think last year we had in the beginning of this year, we've had quite a surge in sightings. So what percentage of cases do you feel are influenced by the media, some sort of cultural programming, or let's say experimental craft versus actual really weird things being seen? Can we even make that determination? Can we look and say, well, probably the media is propagating reports from people that want to have unusual experiences? Do you think that we're seeing an actual rise in activity after a kind of a lull here for the last 10 or so years? Or do you think that it's just all media-induced, want to believe type energy here? What do you guys think?
I think that's kind of a two-part question. To me, the first part is the amount of activity just depends on the cycle of the media or public interest in the subject. I think the stuff just continues to go on. But the other part of that is, and this can affect the numbers of sightings too, to contradict what I just said. I think I like to be simple about this because it's the way I view it. I think it's 90% human technology, 10% something strange and otherworldly. That's how I usually.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think, Greg?
Well, I think that if there is an uptick in things, I mean, there's been enough media coverage of this for many years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why there would be more now or less than in other times. I don't think that's what it is. I think that there are probably some other factors going into what's reported. Also, the other thing is if something's reported that seems to fit in with what people expect, then it's reported and disseminated. Yeah. If it doesn't, True. If it's something very strange and off the beaten path, and just it doesn't sound right and sounds like a dream and sounds completely absurd.
Yeah, it's not being reported.
Yeah, nobody's going to hear about that, and that's too bad because that, like Carla Turner said, that I think the really strange stuff is going to have some of the gold in it, not the stuff that everybody hears about.
That's the most interesting thing. Oh, I want to caveat or what I said. Yeah, I'll stick by that number, 90%. But I'm not saying that 90% is all just secret military technology. What I said was human technology. That also includes, in my view, the whole idea of the breakaway or hidden civilization groups, okay? Which is, to me, just as interesting as, a part of the UFO mystery as the ET thing.
They could be fully in the military and the intelligence agencies as a side kind of an agenda, as opposed to actually working in cahoots with them. They could be alongside them.
Exactly, or even exactly a complete mystery. Maybe the military wishes that they had what these guys, so to speak, have. So
Tricking
when I
the
say
tricksters.
when I say 90% human technology, I'm not just limiting that to secret military technology. I'm talking about the other stuff which I've written about recently, in recent years in research. So and others even more so than me. So
that brings us to Burnt State's next question. He wants to know what do you make of the ease of the propagation of the UFO meme across North America since the first big wave 68 years ago? Do you think that the way mass culture thinks about it has changed in any significant ways, or have we been seeing the same predictable cultural response?
Well, primarily it's fun, so I think that's why there's been the cultural response. People love to be entertained, in new and exciting ways, and this is it's fun, but it also touches.
Well, if you're a field investigator, it's fun, but in a kind of a masochistic sort of way.
That's true, yeah. But for the average common person out there, to the degree that they are experiencing and observing this whole thing, it's primarily it's a fun thing. But I think any change has been that any change in the percentage of people in what they believe about it, specifically the ET thing, But I'm one of those that I don't think disclosure of ET existence will flip out everybody. I think there's maybe very few who would be.
We've been saturated in this stuff for too many decades.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's do our break. Exactly. With Gene and Chris and Greg and Walter. You're in.
Ave of the Paracast.
A little right, a little left, but always independent-minded. The Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
Affordable health insurance was the promise of Obamacare, but for many, the government mandate caused more problems than it solved. And I want to tell you about a truly affordable alternative, Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare bypasses doctor and hospital panels, giving you the freedom to choose 100% coverage up to $1 million per year per occurrence, who includes dental, vision, pharmacy, and holistic care. Call 1-800-714-6993. 1-800-714-6993. 1-800-714-6993 today.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Identity theft is real. So real, it could be making you its next victim right now. At the gas pump, bank, or store where you shop with your credit card, bad guys with RFID scanners can peer into your wallet or purse from a short distance away, stealing information from your RFID-enabled credit or debit cards, passports, room keys, and ID cards without you even knowing it. Stop the bad guys now with an RFID blocking wallet from ID Stronghold. ID Stronghold founded the entire RFID blocking industry over 10 years ago. Their stylish sleeves, clutch purses, and wallets are shielded throughout. The best you can buy at great pricing, as low as $14.99. Don't wait until your wallet needs replacing. Protect your identity now. Click IDStronghold.com or call 1-800-610-2770. That's 1-800-610-2770. ID Stronghold, the original RFID wallet company.
Did you know that drinking pure, high alkaline water is one of the most important factors in maintaining high energy and vibrant health? Most experts agree that the water you drink should be at a pH level of 8 or higher. AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops, available only at alkavision.com, combine a unique formula of only the most alkaline minerals. AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops alkalize your water, ridding the body of harmful toxins, and helps you regain health and energy. Alkalizing your water by simply adding 10 drops of AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops helps the body rid itself of acidic waste, increases oxygen content, and raises the pH of your body to healthy levels. And bacteria and viruses cannot survive in an alkaline high pH environment. Order your bottle of AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops for only $29.95 at alkavision.com. That's ALKAvision.com. Or call 269-409-1776. 269-409-1776. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Why do over 50% of North Americans suffer from some form of chronic ailment? Could it be due to a toxic overload? It's time to take back your life. Get the lead out as well as the cadmium, mercury, and calcium. Extendovite is a garlic cayenne supplement with 5 other herbs that acts like a natural Drano, cleaning out the stored toxins, restoring your energy and youthfulness that we've lost. If you would like to live your life free of sickness, pain, or fear, then Extendovite is for you. Available in either capsules or liquid, you too can see why Extendovite is the #1 heart drop available. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Hey, this is Marie D. Jones, the author of This Book is from the Future, and you are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
I never know what these guys are going to say, so I kind of leave it open there. You know, I want to go back to something earlier that we were talking about, Greg and Walter, and that is that one good way to do research to avoid outside contamination, to get work done, is to do it privately, a small group of people, keeping it quiet. unless or until there are results. But doesn't that create the climate that we're going to have lots of small groups around the world doing their own research, never being in touch with one another, never having some kind of filtering system to see that they're on the right track and not fooling themselves? Doesn't that sometimes work against the hope of being able to get something done?
Yeah, it
Sure does. Yeah, you
Ted
didn't hear
Phillips and
everything.
Marley Woods would be a great example of that.
You didn't hear everything I said, or I didn't make it clear. What I said was to research these things. And as Walter said, if you have some results, you've got results. Put them out there.
Yes.
Tell other people, this is the result we've got, and this is exactly how we went about it.
And there's your test. At that point, your test will come. See, the idea of doing it privately is because the nature of the phenomenon, it's gonna come out of the woodwork more. And then when you get your results, then put them out there, like Greg says, and that's when your test, your filter will be applied.
Right.
You know what? Have the class and the character that if it's pointed out that you're wrong or erroneous, to say, "Oops, okay, great, I got that one wrong. Then my conclusions were erroneous."
Well, I think what Greg is bringing up is something that I've been championing for a long time, and that's trying to attain and maintain as pristine an investigative environment as possible. Your social petri dish should have as few contaminants as humanly possible to keep out of the equation. It's only then that you get pure or a more pure form of result and data and then results. And I think that's important, because if you go investigating a case and you've got a camera crew following you behind, reporters, that sort of thing, people begin to start performing as opposed to being themselves. I've seen that many times, and that muddies the water. To have that petri dish as contaminant free, the pristine investigative environment, there is no substitute for that. And I think we're starting to lose that sense. And Walter's saying people are into this stuff because it's fun. The first thing that sprang to mind to me is, well, it sounds like Hollywood and the entertainment complex is doing their job. They're entertaining people. People are having fun being entertained. And unfortunately, shortcuts are taken. Cliff note versions are used. Things are folded, spindled, and mutilated along the way in that entertainment process. And that's a real problem that I see.
Because it's more serious than entertainment. Yeah, I admit I see where it's fun for most people, but I think we know that there's something deeper than fun going on. And it's not always fun the deeper you look. There's some darker aspects of the spectrum, which some researchers and enthusiasts want to ignore. It's like the people who talk about, a few years back, angels. I've actually heard people, I believe in angels, but I don't believe demons exist. And I just, once I finish laughing, it's like the people that say, well, I believe in the happy little guys in Close Encounters, and the aliens are to help us. There are no bad ones.
Stephen Greer comes to mind.
Yeah, it's laughable. And then my other favorite one that I get so tired of hearing, I got tired of a long time ago, is we humans are not evolved enough to have this technology. We're such rotten no goods. We're the bad kids of the universe. Come on, give me a break. The ETs that are out there, I think they're just like us. Others have said this recently, thank God. There's corrupt ones. There's ones with good intentions. There's ones that are indifferent. These people, just because they have this advanced technology and they allegedly never use for destructive war purposes, things like that. It's... Yeah, exactly.
Well, and let's not forget Stephen Hawking's pointed observation that the likelihood of spacefaring alien races being like Vikings and Marauders is much more likely than benevolent space brothers looking to solve some poor primitive planet's internal problems.
Which brings us back to the Carol Rosen thing. Von Braun allegedly told her that the whole idea that ET is a threat. Well, according to Von Braun, that's going to be used against us. There could be the irony there that maybe they are dangerous, but like the war on terror, there is a threat out there, but it's been latched onto by profiteers who want to keep us. And when I say profiteers, I don't just mean corporate material profiteers. I mean social engineering profiteers. Yeah, who want to control the masses and get out of the masses what they want. So they keep us worked up and paranoid and maybe exaggerate what the threat is. I think this ET threat that von Braun was supposedly told Carol Rosen about might be that it's not that von Braun wasn't saying that ET doesn't exist. What he was saying is that it's going to be used to spin us up. See? Right. So it might be that both are true.
And anybody who's interested in this concept should definitely reread your Jacques Vallée book, Messengers of Deception, because that's pretty much what that book's about. Here's another question from Burnt State, which I think is a good one. And since we're on this kind of conspiratorial sort of slant here in the conversation, what's the one conspiracy that scares you the most because you think it has some real merit?
Oh, I can't think of one.
Nothing that...
No comment?
I think, it would be in the realm of this. Oh gosh, you know what? It for me, it's usually in the realm of social engineering that pushes people to collectivism. Because to me, collectivism is a very dangerous thing. So I don't know, but to be specific. It's hard to pinpoint one because there's so much stuff out there that serves a particular aim. I don't know.
Probably the one that would, if I had to say one that bothers me the most, it's the one people impose on themselves by not listening, by not checking out information, by not using any critical thinking, and most importantly, not reserving judgment.
Yeah. Yeah, the dumbing down of the American pubic.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And that's part of that pushing towards a collective, the hive mentality. The don't think for yourself. Individuality is bad. Look at our heroes in mythology. Our own little mythologies in pop culture used to be, the tall, lonesome stranger who came in and took care of the issue. And that was the hero, the guy who was the individual guy, right? Now everything's in teams. Yeah. We don't just have Superman. We got to have a team of Avengers. We got to have X-Men. Everything is collective.
The Fantastic Four.
Yeah, exactly. I see that as a problem. That's pushing us towards it. It's why I personally prefer the Avengers over the X-Men. The X-Men, what do? They all wear the same costume, right? The same uniform. It's all the collective. Where the Avengers are individual superheroes who are off doing their own thing until they need to come together. They come together when they need to. They take care of the problem, and then off they go separately again.
Well, that's what they're doing in the DC universe now. They're going to have the Justice League in the movies with this new film, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. That paves the way for two movies about the Justice League of America with Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and Aquaman and I think Flash.
Well, exactly. And the philosophical background of that is you've got the collectivist idea in the X-Men versus the individualist idea in the Avengers. And, that speaks to whatever it was I was saying.
So it sounds like you weren't a big Devo fan.
No, I like Devo.
Whip it good.
I get it. They're ironic, right?
Their message is early on was just frustration, modern man frustration. And later their message very strong was what I just said. Think for your damn self.
Well, hey, let's go into more thinking for yourself. Let's try that for a change. Gene and Chris and Walter and Greg, you're in
Paracast.
We are the premier independent talk radio network, the Genesis Communications Network, GCN.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code NIGHTOWL. Use the coupon code NIGHTOWL to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey Guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey Guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products. Most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey Guy at GoBerkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com, home of the Berkey Guy.
Hi, Peter Vaccaro for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up for free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, mysteries, ghosts, UFOs, and the afterlife, and so much more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people seeking a viable alternative to the other dating services. You can join for free by going to ParanormalDate.com, and if you decide you like it and want to connect with people, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. Mark Rawlings, president of ParanormalDate.com, says so many people hunger to share their experiences about the paranormal, the unexplainable, or the afterlife, and so much more, and this is the source for them to meet and share that common interest. So sign up for free at ParanormalDate.com, ParanormalDate.com, and use the code GEORGE if you decide to connect with someone you like.
It's very easy to be a criminal. All you need to burglarize a home is one simple household tool, a pair of scissors. If your home security system can be compromised by a criminal using scissors, then you're making it easy for them. Almost every home security system, even those sold by big-name companies, has a weakness: the phone line. You shell out $1,500, get locked into a long-term contract, and think you're safe. But a burglar can destroy your alarm in seconds with one snip. And when a burglar cuts your phone line, you're defenseless. Simply Safe Home Security is the smarter choice. Built by Harvard engineers, Simply Safe uses a wireless connection to call the cops. Scissors can't cut it, and that means your home stays safe. 24/7 professional monitoring is under $15 a month with no contract. Simply Safe Home Security keeps you safer than the other guys for half the cost. Protect your home with the alarm you can trust. Simply Safe. Go to simplysafedefense.com now for an exclusive 10% offer. That's simplysafedefense.com.
Hi, this is Bryce Abel. I'm the producer of Dark Skies, the co-author of AD After Disclosure, and you are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Gene and Chris, Greg and Walter, take it any way you want. Think for yourself. Do you think, though, also things like social networks, where we're just sharing our private lives and our bathroom visits or whatever else, that's kind of creating such a shared mentality that we're losing our individualism?
Sure. No, I think it promotes narcissism probably more than anything.
That's true.
I mean, I go up to Grand Canyon all the time. I've been up 3 times this week. And I'll tell you, the selfie stick phenomenon is really, there's been several people. I just wanted to grab that thing and beat them with it. To me, this whole thing, this whole narcissism of selfies and just this whole, the Twitter phenomenon of every 5 minutes posting, like Gene just said, I had a great bowel movement. Everybody please clap, hit like if you like that. It's like,
look at my coffee, that kind of thing.
I mean, to me, when you look at a culture and how it's progressing, you look at what words are added to the language. And I think the last words that have been added are twerking, selfies, and some other narcissistic activity, which I probably blocked out of my mind.
Now, to show you how bad the selfies gets, I was watching the TV playback of one of those Comic-Con San Diego features. This one, I think, was about the stars of the TV show Arrow from the CW. And one of the stars of the show takes out his smartphone. I don't know what kind of smartphone. And throughout the first 5 minutes of this panel discussion, he's taking selfies of everybody. And he's one of the participants.
He's on the panel, but he's up there taking selfies of everybody on the panel with himself.
That's right.
Yeah, well, because it's the urge. It can't be resisted. But if they could do that mirror image thing of the selfie within the selfie within the selfie, people would just implode with this.
Well, where do you think this is coming from? Do you think that this rampant narcissism is being produced and exacerbated by our reality show culture? Do you think that Andy Warhol was on the right track, or Marshall McLuhan, the others spring to mind, Terrence McKenna? What do you think?
It is that simple. It is that simple. Everybody has the opportunity to be seen by the world now. I mean, when we were kids, we'd watch the original Star Trek, and there was this Captain Kirk guy that, was my favorite character on the show and stuff. And now, I can go on my Twitter, and there's William Shatner right there. I can tweet to him. I can say something to this person who 30, 40, 50 years ago was just somebody who, was just only on TV and there was no personal interaction.
Yeah, it was an iconic character.
Exactly. It was an icon. And now, you know, he's just another guy on Twitter on this thing. And so here's the thing. If people can do it, they're going to. And I think that's what it is they can do it. So they're going to.
This form of empowerment is healthy, or do you think it's just
No. It's like you said. It's narcissistic. It's people are spending. You know, this is an old saw we've heard for the last 10 years. You know, from various sources. But people really do and can spend way too much time expressing themselves, every little dumb thought, instead of living life.
Well, do you think this may be by design, that people are being kind of coerced into this reflective kind of selfie type scenario to keep them from looking outwards and possibly focusing on more important issues than what their boobs look like in the new lifting bra, or whether their ass is on par with Kim Kardashian, or whatever the motivations are for this narcissistic behavior. The one thing that I see happening is it's distracting people from the real issues that they should be thinking about in their lives. What do you think, Greg? Is that accurate?
What I think is that what you are all saying, that all enters into it. I don't think there's some sort of conspiracy to get people to turn inward. I think that happened, and then, all the people that are concerned with where we spend our money and who we give our money to and who we pay attention to jumped on it. Because
they take advantage.
Yeah. The other thing that I think enters into this, and it may just be because I live in North America in a certain kind of culture, in a certain kind of, economic strata, in a certain kind of city and all that, in an urban environment, is the way people are raised. Everybody I know that has kids, whether I've met them just a minute ago or people I've known for years, suddenly the kids can do no wrong, and they have my wife, she's Sigrid, she works at a library, and if anybody loses, everybody gets mad. But,
the American parent is out of control.
Yeah, and if all I can remember is losing most of the time when I was growing up. Every once in a while, you'd get this really cool thing where you'd win, and it was almost you'd make a